Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax. Except you, that person driving. Sit up and keep your eyes on the road. Your ears, though, can still listen as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
Me, Rob. Let's make a mockery of this.
Yeah, this is like the unmock draft. So instead of going back to, this upcoming draft here, we're going to turn back time, do a little share. If I could turn back time, we're going to go ahead and go over...
If I could turn back time.
Would I still draft Kayvon? We're going to find out. but yeah, so we're going to go over last year's draft, knowing what we know now. Would we still draft who we drafted? And also kind of go over some thoughts on the guys we did draft this past year, because we had a lot of picks in this draft that came up. So not a lot of them played much, but we'll get into that as well, of course. Didn't feel like we had a lot of picks. That's for
Save our beaver.
Yeah. So before we get into that, though, folks, wanted to go over some Giant news here with you. So the big news today is, and people were freaking out, oh my God, this is the end. He'll never be a Giant again. Because Sterling Shepard officially is a free agent. And people are like, oh my God, this is horrible. So there was a clause in his contract that automatically voided the deal 3 days after the Super Bowl. So that's why his contract is up, guys. It's not that we cut him. It's not that he's retiring. And I don't know about you, Rob, but I can't see Shepard ever wanting to play for another team besides the New York Giants.
Yeah. I think he's one of those class act guys that's going to retire as a Giant. He's probably want to go into the coaching staff for the Giants. I think he is a grade A New York guy, heart to heart.
Yeah, and the coaching staff and front office, the new staff we have here, love him. I mean, that guy was on the sidelines the whole season cheering them on. I mean, the Giants, social media was doing whole montages of him cheering people on during the game and all. Like, this wasn't a guy who stepped away because he got hurt. So,
if anything, it looked like he was more active this year on the sidelines.
Yeah, he definitely was. Anything. He definitely was. And I think that you're going to see that get rewarded, where if he wants to play, and that's a key part, because he's had so many injuries, it's still up to him whether he wants to play, obviously. But if he wants to play, trust me, they're going to bring him back. They're not going to offer him a ton of money because he hasn't earned that based on the injuries. Not even by the play. When he's on the field, he's a beast still. He's just never on the field. So I don't see him getting much more than a minimum deal. But I honestly think he's going to do one last hurrah. And I hope it doesn't, cause any major injury issues for him, long term, where after football he's like, damn, I should have come back and done that last year. But I do think he will end up coming back there.
I think he's going to come back, probably minimum deal, and have some bonuses clause. If you get this many yards, you get this. If you X, Y, and Z.
And that'd be fair, I think. That'd be very fair. We also had our first signings of the offseason already, which just sounds a little crazy, but it's more of a re-signing. So we re-signed offensive lineman Jack Anderson and tight end Lawrence Cager. So not these are huge players, guys. So we get excited, hey, we're going to the Super Bowl. We got Lawrence Cager back. But, it's good to see things moving. And one of the big things for me is, not that I anticipated this being an issue, but when you're making re-signings and doing these kind of moves early on, that shows there's a plan.
Yes,
and I can't
100%.
always say that I saw a plan with the previous regime. So it's nice to go into an offseason going, okay, we made some moves very early on. This was planned. There is a plan. We may not know what the plan is, and that's fine. I don't need to know the plan. If I know the plan, everybody knows the plan. So, I don't need to know what I can guess.
I mean, look at that coaching staff.
Yeah.
In this front office, they haven't been very vocal about what they're going to do much at all since they've come into power.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing that they've kind of blatantly said was
They're bringing Jones back. Yeah,
That's the only thing they plainly said this is what's going to happen.
So we got John S. Anderson Jr. back here listening to the show. Welcome back, John. Saying, bring the big blue wrecking crew news, brothers. That's what we're here for, guys. That's what we're here for. Because if you're like us, you are also a giant addict. So for some reason, I can't get enough. I'm crazy like that. I'll be sitting there even when we're not doing, working on the show. I'm still like, what's going on? Any moves? Any news?
What are you doing?
I'm
new memes?
I'm bad. I'm like a stalker. I know what
They
all the Giants
call.
toothbrushes are. So I got to also share one last story here before we get into this. And this isn't even a Giant thing here necessarily, but I have to share it because he's an ex-Giant that had this happen here. So Juju Smith-Schuster, they were doing all the fake Valentine Day cards. He posted one of James Bradbury saying, "I'll hold you when it matters most." Oh my God. Like AJ Brown went crazy on, like people are flipping out. Listen, that's part of football, guys.
And listen,
trash talking is part of football, and that's freaking hilarious. Of all the mock Valentine Day card stuff I saw, that was the best one by far. Like, that was stupendous. So kudos to Juju and his team if they made it or whoever did make it, because that was freaking awesome. So let's get into our unmock draft, I guess we should call it, since it's, a redo here. It's unmock.
Hindsight draft.
Yes, the Monday morning quarterback draft.
Yeah.
So obviously,
Wednesday after the Super Bowl draft.
The first pick of the draft last year that we had was the 5th overall pick. We selected Kayvon Thibodeaux, edge out of Oregon. And apparently my autocorrect, as I'm looking at my notes, changed it to oregano. So apparently he was at oregano.
Hey, at least he's sweet.
Yeah, he's well seasoned.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is a pick that I'm keeping. This is a player that I'm excited for to see what the future holds. I mean, for a guy who was hurt at the beginning of the year to come back and progress like he did, I thought it was pretty impressive. I do want to see one thing out of him still, and I want to see him be able to shed blocks better.
Oh,
and I've seen enough Snow Angels. So I'm good on the Snow Angels. And who is this? Who's Jeff Saturday? Who's this guy?
Yeah, he doesn't even talk smack about legends.
Yeah, but
maybe not legends, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to anoint the guy like the second coming of Strahan or anything crazy like that. But I do think he's got some good upside.
Potential.
Yeah, he's got some good upside. I'm curious to see what happens overall with him.
And remember, we also talked him down before we drafted him because we wanted him so bad.
Oh yeah, and I was like, what the hell when I saw the reports?
Is this knee okay? Like, yeah. I don't know. Well, can he survive media? Like,
yeah. He can survive all right. He's thriving. If anything, New York's the biggest media market there is. So, and I do think if he reaches even half the potential I think he has, he's going to be a star in the area for many years to go.
100%.
So, second first round pick, because we had two. Keep remember, guys. So, 7th overall pick, Evan Neal out of Alabama, and I think it's safe to say we can say he had a rough rookie year. I think that's pretty fair, right?
Yeah, I mean, he showed glimmers of being a star, but he also showed the thinness of going out.
I wouldn't even say star. I think he showed glimmers of being an okay tackle. I mean, he had some really bad games as well.
Yeah. So, he also looked like a rookie. So, like, it's a tough position to get thrown into. So, I don't want to discredit Evan Neal because I do like him as a player.
I'm not giving up on him by any means. I'm not saying let's go sign a right tackle because he stinks. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying,
hindsight.
If I can redo this draft, I'm not taking him. I'm not. And
hindsight.
Hindsight tells me Garrett Wilson is who we're taking here. That number 1 wide receiver that we're missing all year long. And the Jets got him, and instead now we're getting him in this unmock draft here.
And just think, what was our biggest question all year? Can DJ throw to a good receiver? This guy's a rookie, over 1,000 yards his rookie year, and he had 3 different quarterbacks, probably 4, I think, at one point, throw to him this year.
Yep.
So
And I think the big thing is that I really think that he's a player that you haven't seen the ceiling on, and I don't blame the Giants for not taking a wide receiver like that in the draft, because we thought going into the year, okay, we got Tony, we got Galladay, we got Shepard, and obviously in their mind they were going to draft a wide receiver later on in the draft, and they pretty much knew that. So yeah, you can't blame them for not making that move back then.
No.
But now, knowing what we know now,
it's called hindsight.
Yeah, this is a huge difference there. We got Jonas Anderson, O.T. Anderson. I like that guy. I wonder why. And Anderson protecting the quarterback is the way to go.
Yeah. Touche.
Well, we're going to get into some protections later on in this draft, guys, that we're redoing here. We're not giving up on the line. And if anything, we're picking, I think, better options for the line overall than what the Giants did with this draft here. Again, we have the hindsight, though. They didn't. So that brings us up to our next pick. So we selected Wan'Dale Robinson out of Kentucky. And obviously we already got a good wide receiver now, so we're not going to pick wide receiver back to back. So instead, we're going to go ahead and shore up the offensive line, and not a tackle. We're going to go ahead and get Dylan Parham, guard out of Memphis, who was originally picked by the Raiders with number 90. And this was a guy who started pretty much all year for them. And I'm not sitting here and trying to make this guy seem like he's next Quentin Nelson, but this is a guy who is a legit guard as a rookie. And that's not something you get very often. We talked about the roughness of being a guard or tackle or any kind of offensive lineman in the NFL. Like it's a huge step up going from college to the NFL.
And it's a very, very hard thing to do to, like, as a rookie, to be that talented and look the way he did. Look at Evan Neal.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'll take the Galladay on. We got Jonas Anderson back again. Galladay should hang it up. He probably should, but someone's going to be stupid and pay him probably. And he says, yeah, not us. He says, I'd move up and get the other Anderson in the draft while they're at it. You're just like you're drafting the Andersons, John. I'm starting to wonder if there's a family tree thing going on here or something. But yeah, like I said, I think we got the guard position filled in. And the big thing for me is, what was the issues we had pretty much all year long was the interior part of that line. Glowinski obviously wasn't as good as we expected him to be. Left guard was an injury issue the whole entire time. We had the center position, Feliciano, I thought left things to be desired. Could have been a lot better, could have been a lot worse kind of guy. So here's a guy that we can plug in right off the bat at tackle and can go ahead and I think be an upgrade over a lot of the guys we have. So next up, we have, with our third round pick, number 67, we took Josh Ezeudu out of North Carolina. And I think he still has some promise there. I think that's a guy we're going to see better things of as he matures in this league. But this is a guard. Will we just take the last position?
We're taking a guard, so you got to switch it up.
So we got to switch it up, exactly. And what's the biggest weakness we haven't gone over yet? We talked about wide receiver already, which is probably the biggest gaping hole on that offense. What's the biggest gaping hole on defense? It's
our linebackers.
So we went ahead. Yeah, he's probably like dreaming of a good linebacker. Yeah. So we went ahead and fixed that by getting Leo Chanel, linebacker out of Wisconsin, who was drafted 103 originally by the Chiefs. So he was, way available afterwards. And you'll see a theme at that point. We're kind of getting a lot of people that were later round picks now, mid-round picks for us because they're worth it. Leo Chanel didn't necessarily blow, out of the water as a rookie. The guys who did were first-round linebackers. There really was no later-round linebackers. You're like, whoa, this guy was great. But Leo Chanel got better as the year went on. He produced in the Super Bowl, the biggest stage that the football world has to offer. He's a fast guy. He's obviously a very young guy, and he's a huge upgrade over Jalen Smith. He's a huge upgrade over any of the other people like Trey Crowder and all those guys that we had out there. It's like, I think it's a slam dunk pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Landon Collins, I know he's a fan favorite, but he's not that good, guys. There's a reason he was available halfway through the season.
Yeah, I mean, I love me Collins. It was happy that I saved his jersey.
Yeah.
Just way I could bring it back. Yeah.
It was a cool story. And as a piece on the defense, I'm okay with him. But if Landon Collins is your starting linebacker, you effed up.
Yeah,
you messed up. Yeah. Like there's something wrong with this pitcher. Like someone made
that
a mistake.
Wasn't his starting position, and there's a reason.
Someone needs to send an "I'm sorry" balloon to whoever.
Yeah.
So
they just missed Valentine's.
Yeah, exactly. Could have had James Bradbury hold them.
Yeah. Never let go, Bradbury. Never let go.
So now I got a couple picks coming up here that are offensive picks that I think you're going to see people listen to this and go, not so sure on this. I think people are going to disagree, but let's see what we got. I want to hear some comments, guys. If you have strong feelings either way with this. So 3rd round pick 81 overall. We took originally Cordell Flott out of LSU, and that was a surprise pick to me. I still think we picked him way too early. I'll never forget talking Giants and Bobby Skinner like flipping out basically. He's like, I did all this work and I don't even know who the hell this guy is. Like the guy didn't even start at LSU and they were drafting me in the 3rd round. Like it was way too early. What I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna pick an offensive player instead. One guy who was the lone good story on a really, really pathetic team this year. A guy who is a pick for the future. Dameon Pierce, running back out of Florida, who's originally picked number 107 by the Texans. This is a guy who did almost 1,000 yards as a rookie. A guy who, like I said, you knew on defense you had to stop him. Let's be honest, they didn't have much of a passing attack. You knew you had to stop him, and people couldn't stop him. He had some amazing games when knew that's who you want to stop.
Just think if the second coming Mills wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you actually had a good quarterback play.
Even an average quarterback, even an average one at that point. And, it's also, I like the fact that he's a north-south kind of runner. So he blended well with Saquon's abilities to do more of the juking and the outside moves and stuff like that. He's not a guy that you put in on a 3rd down to ever catch the ball. So his weaknesses and strengths match up well to Saquon's weaknesses and strengths, I felt like. But beyond that, how different is the conversation we're having about Saquon this offseason if we had a guy like Dameon Pierce waiting in the wings?
I just think, like, you set the two of those guys, set them both up in the backfield. Like, what are the defenses supposed to do?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, you got to figure it out.
Yeah, and good luck with that because that's a hell of a duo right there. That's
especially
a hell of a duo.
Especially if you had, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
That changes our offense completely.
Huge. Especially with a better offensive line, which we're still going to get more into that in a little bit here. Yeah, we're not done there, folks.
Not at all.
Imagine a better offensive line, a number 1 receiver, and a dual head back now at running back instead of just counting on one guy who had a bum shoulder for a 3rd of the year. And I'm not even blaming him when I say that. That's a rough position. Like, you're going to get hurt. And he kept playing because he basically had to. We had nobody else to play.
Especially at that point in the season. Like,
yeah.
That's what the coaching staff was trusting, was the run game. They weren't trusting DJ to throw the ball that much. They were trusting him more on his legs than him to throw the ball. It took, to the second half of the year for that to change.
And we got John S. Anderson Jr. again saying Saquon will be missed if let go. They should have traded with Buffalo and got picks if they weren't going to re-sign him. Here's the only thing I'm going to disagree with you on that, John, respectfully. If we traded him, what we're going to get? Because if we get a comp pick next year, it's probably going to be better than what we would have gotten for him as a trading pick. So that's the only thing I'll say. I think we'll still get the same value we would have gotten, and we got the full year. And I can't say that we went to the playoffs last year if we had let Saquon go. I think that would have been a message to the team that the ownership, the front office was giving up, and that would have totally ruined it. And you know what? I'll take the comp pick next year to not have that and have that experience happen we had this year of actually winning a playoff game and having that kind of season, because we haven't had that in quite some time. So I'll take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. You also can think about the morale of the team. Like, the little wins are big wins.
It's the morale overall too, though. Like, if I'm trying to win a playoff spot and we're trading away our best offensive weapon, hold on a second here. Now we're the Panthers.
It helped the Niners out.
Yeah, definitely did until they ran the quarterbacks.
Yes.
So 4th round pick number 112, we had Daniel Bellinger, tight end of San Diego State, and we've already talked as far as my thoughts on him. We did our awards show, and we named him the Offensive Rookie of the Year for the New York Giants. The guy had a great season, and yet we're not going to redraft him. That's the weird part. We're not going to redraft him. Instead, we're gonna go ahead and draft Chigozie Okonkwo out of Maryland, who was the tight end. So we're still staying the same position. Drafted number 143 by the Tennessee Titans. So the guy started off as like a bit player, and it was
like a plug.
Yeah, it was interesting.
It was a hair plug.
See. It was interesting to see the stats overall on him for this year because he started off. He had only one catch against us week 1, so didn't do much there at all, obviously. But he goes into the rest of the season, all of a sudden getting like it was like random. Like here's a one catch for 40 yards. Here's a one catch for 30 yards. And then all of a sudden, basically from Thanksgiving on, the guy has, at least 3 catches every single game except for one. And ends the season 32 catches, 450 yards, 3 touchdowns. And he only started 8 games this season. He didn't have the full slate of games.
And remember, what happened around Thanksgiving to the Titans?
Their quarterback situation went to poop.
Yeah. Big time poop.
Poop.
It was a Titan poop.
It was like diarrhea poop. It was bad. Yeah, they were doing the cha-cha-cha.
Yeah.
It was brutal those games to watch. But here was a lone bright spot for them. And a guy that, think about that, 8 games starting, 450 yards. So let's say hypothetically, if he had started the whole season, if he did 600-700 yards, that's like, you're talking, he's in that B tier of tight ends as a rookie.
Yeah.
How many tight ends do you see struggle royally as a rookie? It's very common. Usually year 2, year 3 is when they start breaking out. So I think this young guy's going to do a lot of good in Tennessee. I kind of wish we had him. But at the same point, I'm very happy to have Bellinger because I'm a big fan of his work overall. The guy is just a great blocker. The guy has been great as a safety net, so to speak, there for Jones. So listen, I'm not upset.
A security blanket.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm not upset at the pick we made. I don't want people reading that wrong. I am not upset that we have Bellinger whatsoever. I do think this guy is a slight improvement, though. So,
yeah, this is a hindsight thing because just like you just said, it's normally year 2, year 3 when you come out, and we both said when we drafted Bellinger and we were talking about him, we just thought he was going to be a blocking tight end, and he threw up some yards. He was the security blanket for Daniel Jones. So, how does that change in year 2 for us? We could be coming back a year from now talking this hindsight draft, and laugh about it.
Yeah, and I do think what's going to end up happening is long term we could revisit this, and either one of these guys could have had the better career.
Yeah.
So we could do another hindsight and be wrong again and say, "Oh nope, we should have kept with Bellinger after all." Like that's very very possible. We got a couple more comments here from John S. Anderson Jr. Let's see, if we didn't, then we wouldn't have. We would have had easier decision at quarterback, etc. See if Daniel would have still did good. I don't think that changes that part of it because anybody needs weapons. I don't think anybody thinks Daniel Jones is this guy that succeeds on his own without having something around him. He needed Saquon. I don't think, Rob, you can feel free to disagree. You're more the Jones fan than I am. But I think without Saquon as a decoy sometimes in the offense, he would have had trouble there.
I mean, that's any quarterback in the long run. Like any, even your stellar quarterbacks are going to struggle. Look at Aaron Rodgers this year, right? Devontae Adams goes to Vegas. He struggled a little bit. He still put up some great numbers. He did better numbers than Danny Jones. But at the end of the day, like all quarterbacks need a weapon to throw to.
Yeah, it's the only weapon he had there. So he also asked, what do you think about Cager re-signing? Like I said, I like it. It shows there's a plan. To me, they're going to basically either draft or re-sign someone to be tight end number 2, I think, and Cager's tight end number 3. I think that's where he'll end up. I think the fact that they brought him back means they like him. They think highly of him. Keep in mind, this is a guy who was converted from a wide receiver to tight end in the NFL. So it's still a position he's learning. So I think it's going to be interesting to see where the future holds for him. But I think like a low end tight end in the league somewhere, like a third tight end, which is what he's going to be for us.
He might go to him too.
Yeah, and he said Bellinger, definitely good pickup with big upside. Yeah, like I said, we're just splitting hairs because we have the ability to hindsight with that first year, and that's where we're at. Next pickup, we got round 4, pick number 114. I forgot we picked so close again. That's the second time in this draft we picked within 2 picks of each other again. We picked Dane Belton, safety out of Iowa, and Belton didn't, I feel like, embarrass himself at any point. But he also didn't have any signature moves or wins or where I'm like, okay, here we go. Bellinger showed me something. I'm sorry, Bellinger. I mean, Belton showed me something. So I don't think that Belton really had the best of seasons, but I think I'm not ready to give up on the guy either.
I mean, it's not like It's not like he had a good core around him as well.
No,
so,
but when you have guys like Tony Jefferson, when you have guys, like Jason Pinnock that are going ahead of you, and these are guys that are bit players in the NFL. These aren't guys that, are potential starters for anybody else. They're on our team because other teams let them go in the Ravens and the Jets. When you can't beat those guys out, that's not the best sign.
No.
So, like I said, who knows? Maybe learn 1 or 2 things, having a second off season, get better next year, hopefully, and make me eat my words there. But like I said, I'm not high on him, but I'm not giving up on him yet. So
yeah, listen, we have him. I hope he does well.
Oh yeah, listen, every single person that puts on that blue uniform, I am rooting for 100%. So I'm definitely not that guy. But in this case here, instead now, we're going to stay with the secondary. We're going to take Jack Jones, cornerback out of Houston, pick number 121 originally by the Patriots. And he was their nickelback corner. And he had a very good year. And let's be honest, we had trouble in some of those mid, kind of passes. We had trouble with tight ends, with corners. This is a guy who could help out in covering the middle of the field as a corner, and I think that'd be a good pickup for us overall. And like I said, anytime you get a guy who excelled in a Belichick defense too, I'll take that guy.
100%.
I'll take that guy. Next up, round 5, pick number 146, Micah McFadden, linebacker out of Indiana. The only rookie, guys. Let that sink in for a second here. The only rookie to play the entire season. That's sad.
It's so sad.
That's really sad. And what's even worse is he's the only rookie who played. And I didn't like the way he played. I really didn't. I didn't think he was that good. And I honestly, I didn't like him very much, the pick overall. We'll get into Beavers in a minute here. I was more excited about that draft pick at linebacker than I was about this one. I think what they were thinking of is they were thinking this was a guy who can be that middle linebacker who can blitz the quarterback like Wink likes, and he fits that kind of system there. Sometimes you don't go for the system, though. You go for the talent. And you make your system fit that talent. And that's what the Giants kept on talking about that first offseason here. But I think they definitely, in this case here, went with somebody that thought fit the system. And he may have fit the system based on his talent, but his talent left something to be desired on the field. So
yeah,
I'll be a little more cut and dry than I am on Belton, because I think linebacker is one of the positions you just hit the ground running. It's not that much different what you're doing there than what you're doing in college. In
just higher talents you got to block.
Exactly. And as a corner and as a safety in the NFL, there's a much bigger learning curve than there is. Yeah, and I'm just, like I said, I'm not sold on him long term being a Giant, and I again hope I'm wrong. But the guy that I would have picked, with hindsight, if I could, go back now and go my Mr. Peabody's Wayback Machine here. For the kids who don't know who that is, it was a movie, but way before that, it was the Rocky and Bullwinkle show.
So say they had a movie recently.
That's what I'm saying. That's why they probably I feel like anybody like under 30 probably doesn't even know about the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. Really,
Probably not.
probably not. So we end up taking now instead Braxton Jones, tackle out of Southern Utah. Southern Utah. You know, a theme here. We got some weird small schools here: Memphis, Houston, Southern Utah, Maryland. You know, these aren't the powerhouse teams. But what's weird is these were the guys who stood out as later round draft picks, and they're coming from smaller schools. I like to notice these kind of things. It makes me think when the draft comes around next year, like, okay, is this a theme now? We like, should we look at some of these smaller school guys and see if they just didn't get the attention because people assumed there's a talent they're going against? But yeah, Braxton Jones ended up playing left tackle for the Chicago Bears. The Bears. And was a great run blocker for them. Definitely needs work in the pass protection. But when you got a 5th round pick who can start for you at a left tackle, that's a good pickup. Even if he's not your long-term left tackle there, that's still a good pickup. And I would put him at right tackle instead of having Evan Neal, since we don't have him in this redo. And to me, great tackle for run blocking, leaves to be desired in the pass protection. Who does that sound like? Oh yeah, Evan Neal sounds just like Evan Neal. So, like I said, I think it's a good pickup for us overall. I think it's a good spot to go ahead and get a guy that we can get later on in the draft to replace somebody we didn't draft in this case here. So we got just 3 more picks, guys. 3 more picks. And I'm surprised no one's yelled at me really for the Bellinger thing. I was kind of expecting it, to be honest with you. So originally we picked DJ Davidson, defensive tackle at Arizona State. And to me, that was the worst pick we had in this draft, pretty much. I just didn't like him from the get-go. I think we got desperate and made a move based on a position we thought we needed. Which, I mean, happens sometimes, but yeah, wasn't a big fan of it. And he didn't do anything to make me think otherwise. So we have a new pick, though. Because keep in mind, before the draft, we knew we were going to drop James Bradbury so he can go ahead and help the Chiefs win a Super Bowl. We knew that the position of CB2 was going to be open. And who better to fill it than cornerback Tariq Woolen, University of Texas San Antonio, picked 153 originally by the Seattle Seahawks. The guy made the NFL's all-rookie team. The guy was their number 1 corner for them. And he shut down some big guys there. And
so he's part of the reason that defense stepped up, in the second quarter of that year.
And what did I say again? Small school? Small
school. I was about to say.
UTSA, small school. So, yeah, this was a guy that I was excited to watch play when we played Seattle. I was less excited after we played Seattle because of what happened in that game. But yeah, I mean, like I said, he's a good corner. He's solid, and we talked about how there's a learning curve that freshman year, that rookie year in the NFL. He didn't have that problem.
No,
point blank, he played well right from the get-go. And
it's almost not fair.
Yeah, it really isn't to get that out of a guy that you drafted 153. You got a 5th round pick that becomes an all rookie at a very important, very premium position in the NFL. That's one hell of a pick. That's like a hang your hat on for the next 10 years kind of pick if he stays as good as he was this year, for sure. But yeah, so we got our corner situation fixed next. We got a good nickel corner. We got a good starting second corner. I mean, that's a secondary fixed up there. And I'm not worried about the safety we lost in Dane Belton because he barely played anyway until injuries happened and all. We could have probably picked somebody off the street who just as good as he did. Not to be mean about it, but it's the truth.
You're also not wrong.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be mean about it, but I'm not. I don't think I'm wrong. If anybody thinks I'm wrong, feel free to comment away. But
Dylan, you also have way more talent than I do, so sorry for picking on you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Trust me, he would definitely be able to stop me from catching the ball. But that's not saying much. Arthritis does that as well. So
can't get off the line as fast as
I'm 6'7", can jump to a height of 7 feet. So, and next up, we have a pick that we didn't even really see at all. Marcus McKeithen, another offensive lineman out of North Carolina who got hurt in our fan festival, which was nice because I feel like by getting a player hurt for the year during the fan fest, it really gave the fans a taste of what to expect for the year.
From all the rookies. Damn, it's really funny because it's true.
I know it's true. I know it's true. That's what's crazy. So yeah, we're not taking him, and it's not because I don't like anything he did in training camp or anything like that. It's we've already taken a couple of rookie offensive linemen here, and I don't see the value in the guy because I didn't get a chance to see him. So I could eat my words on this one here, but I think the bigger position I'm looking to fill is the fact that how many tight ends we have come and go in and out of the building. So, yeah, I'm going to try to fix that by getting Grant Calcaterra, tight end at SMU, again, a smaller school, picked number 200 by the Philadelphia Eagles. Boo, Eagles.
Yeah. Boo, Philadelphia.
And he was an interesting guy coming out of the draft that I liked. So he was originally a big-time prospect. So he was playing for Oklahoma for a couple years. He played with them from 17 to 19. He retired from football, guys. Retired. Concussions. Thought about his health. Walked away. He actually accepted a job as an EMT in California and was this close to becoming a firefighter as a career. And then got convinced to go back to school.
Kudos for him.
Yeah. So he played 1 year at SMU. And was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. Didn't do a lot necessarily in his rookie year. I'm not trying to say he blew the water, but I think you also have to keep in mind.
Hopefully, he's he does.
But I think the big thing is that it's still a guy who has potential at a position we needed help at this year. You know, we had some injuries in the preseason at tight end. Injuries. Ooh, who would have thought? So we had some injuries there. We had guys who picked up. Again, we talked about Lawrence Cager before because we signed him. Lawrence Cager wasn't on the team to start the year. He was a Jet. We picked him up because we needed a tight end. We were picking guys up off the streets to play tight end like crazy.
I mean, we were doing that in a lot of positions all year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But like I said, I'm trying to fix that right there by going ahead and trying to get that, going. John S. Anderson again here. Smelladelphia, he says. Yeah, it doesn't. You go to the wrong part of Philly, that does smell stinky.
Cheesesteaks.
Listen, and again, we talked about this last episode, I think it was, where, you go there, it smells like urine, and it does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, don't go there, guys. It's a tourist
trap. They marinate the meat in it.
Yeah. Oh. That's not lemonade, folks.
Yeah.
So we have one more pick. Round 6. Pick number 182. Darian Beavers, linebacker, Cincinnati.
Save the Beaver.
Hashtag save the Beaver. So I got to say, I struggled with this one almost as much as I struggled with the Daniel Bellinger one. So Bellinger I struggled with because I liked what he did as a rookie, and I'm worried it's going to look like I didn't by taking somebody else. I just like what somebody else did a little better. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
Darian Beavers looked very good in the preseason. He would have been a starting linebacker, I believe, for us if he had stayed healthy and not have, surprise, a knee injury.
Torn ACL. Hopefully be healthy by preseason next year.
And I'd like to pencil him in as one of the bigger, linebacker names for us to kind of pick up, even though we, didn't necessarily pick him up. We just got him back. But I didn't go that route because, again, same as McKeithen, I didn't get really to see him play. I don't have enough time or stuff to, go ahead and form an opinion on him. So I'm going to go instead with Jamari Salyer, who was drafted, even though he played tackle in college, to be a guard. Pick number 195 by the Chargers. But the interesting part about him, though, is, yes, he was drafted to be a guard. He ended up playing left tackle because Rashawn Slater went down for the year. They ended up playing him at tackle anyway. And he didn't embarrass himself. Wasn't great. Don't get me wrong. Slater, they would have preferred to have him there back in the game.
Yeah.
But you get a guy that didn't embarrass himself at a position people didn't even think he was going to be playing necessarily in the professional sports. They wanted to go, put him to guard. And again, what we talked about before, what's our issue? Interior offensive line. So we still got our starting right tackle. We now have two guys who've proven they can start in the league at the guard positions, which means we could have moved Nick Gates over to center when he got healthy. And I think that would have been a much better line. But again, I have the hindsight Joe Shane didn't have. He wishes he had. All the guys wish they had the information we have right now when the draft is going. You kidding me? They'd pay money like crazy. Be like Marty McFly coming back to present time with the sports book there. Like it'd be like something amazing like that. So, but like I said, now we have, some guys that I think are better suited for our team, are bigger helps for the team. And I think, overall, this team is stronger long term as well with these guys. But again, we had the hindsight they didn't have. So I'm still happy with what we got overall, because I still like, obviously we talked about Kayvon. I like Kayvon. I still think that you got Evan Neal's got promise, and I think he's going to at least be at average tackle in the league. I still think that Darian Beavers has some potential as well, and I really like Bellinger. And if you can hit on 4 players in a draft,
did your job pretty well.
Yeah, that's not a bad draft. Not everything's going to be a home run, and not everything's going to be, smelling roses at the end. So, yeah, I'll take that all day long. And I think that in the end, we're going to look at this later on to be a potentially, a very good draft for us, because I do think you're to see Cordell Flott a lot next year, because I do think he'll take Darnay Holmes' spot as the slot corner away from him, because I think he'll be cut because of the money. So I think you'll see him a lot more, and he has the potential to grow, and that'd be hitting fifth guy now in the draft. So again, good draft overall, and I'm very curious to see what we're going to do this upcoming year as John S. Anderson comes in again. Both of you, first 2 picks this year, who are you taking? They say Zay Flowers, wide receiver, but only 5'10". I think we need taller, stronger, fast receivers. I'll say this, John. We will do a mock draft the next episode. So, great question, because you gave us a segue. Good sir.
So tune in, buddy.
It's like you're part of the show.
Yeah.
So we'll have that up for you guys here this upcoming Friday here. So 2 more days, we'll have that going. We will do a full mock draft. We'll give you guys, each of us will do a mock draft. So you have 2 different examples here. We'll go over who we picked, why we picked them, what we think based on, what hasn't happened in the offseason, where we're going to go. Because it's never too early to do a mock draft. I love doing mock drafts. I'm that guy who's like, I just get bored sometimes on the couch, and I'm doing like 3 or 4 mock drafts in a row. It's been actually a fun one to do so far? The Chicago Bears.
Bears.
Because these guys had the first overall pick. They don't even need a quarterback, assuming that they do have faith in Fields like most people have. They're going to make a ton of draft picks for themselves here with this trade they're going to do. Because I think even like a team like the Texans is going to give the house away to move up 1 spot. You got a team like the Colts going to give the house away to move up 3 spots. And they're going to have so many extra picks, it's not even funny. This is going to make a Ricky Williams kind of trade where they give up the whole draft for the 1 pick. It's going to happen, I'm telling you. John S. Anderson again. You're welcome. Sign me up. I'll take $2 million a year. Listen, I'll take $2 million a year. If you know somebody making $2 million, giving $2 million a year for somebody to sit around and talk New York Giants football, we are down.
Let us know,
anytime.
please.
Yes. Our email is 2giantgoofballs@mail.com. Whatever sponsorship this is. I don't know if we have to get like naked on camera or something, but show our feet or something.
Only Giants fans.
We're down. Only Giants. It still works as a porn name. So thank you everybody for listening. We hope you guys enjoy the show, and if you're watching us live on social media here on Facebook, I almost said TikTok. TikTok, well, let's do live like this. Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Go ahead and hit that like, hit that share button there. If you're listening out there in podcast land, in the audio format here, hello from the past. And go ahead and go to Facebook, go to YouTube, go to Twitter, and like us all on there, because sometimes you might want to watch, sometimes you might want to listen on the way to work, and sometimes you just may want to call out sick and just, get drunk anyway. So, whatever it is, we're down for it.
All the above are
like us, share us,
okay.
Subscribe, hit all the positive buttons there are, leave the negative ones behind.
We won't read them anyway.
Exactly. No, we will. That's the scary part.
Yeah.
If somebody says you guys are schmucks and I hate you, I will read it on air. I don't care. Now, I'm waiting Johnson to do it probably now because you said that. But yeah, again, folks, thank you very much for listening in. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to hear what these two goofballs have to think about the Giants football here. Like I said, we will be back on Friday for you guys with the the mock draft. That'll be our second mock draft of this year. And then starting next week, we're going to go ahead and start running down positional breakdowns as far as reviews of where we think the team is at for each position, give you our thoughts on the people who played the position this past season, as well as if we think it's a position we need to upgrade, downgrade. Well, no, we don't want to really downgrade on purpose, but, if we can afford a downgrade, like a position like running back, if we don't sign Saquon, that kind of thing. And, maybe we need to go to the draft, that kind of stuff. We'll go over every position one by one for you guys. So we'll do the quarterback, the running back, the wide receivers, the tight ends, the offensive line, defensive line, edge, linebacker, corner, and safety. So expect a lot of content coming. And we have a lot of the bigger guys coming up here as well. So we have a lot of special guests that are signed on for this. We're going to start scheduling with them here real soon too. So keep an eye out for that. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, trust me, you're going to want to. Because you are definitely going to be entertained by some of the stuff that's coming up here pretty quickly here. And if not, Rob is going to get on camera and do a dance randomly. A dance at the Seven Veils.
Belly shirt and all.
He's been taking belly dancing lessons for 3 months now, just to prepare for these moments.
Truffle shuffle.
Oh, the truffle shuffle. The Goonies. Love that movie. So, thanks again for listening, guys. And as always, Giant fans,
go G-Man!
Go G-Man! Go G-Man!
G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support. If you made it this long, you must have enjoyed it. So I am sure you have followed us on all the social media platforms. Of course, you have subscribed to the show on your favorite app as well and given us a top rating. Right? Right? Right?